Hello, and welcome to By Moonlight, where it's not a phase to marry for love when society wants you to marry for money. This week, we're kicking off our new season, Jane Austen August, with Pride and Prejudice.
And I'm going to do a summary later because I did not have the mental capacity for a summary.
Caitlyn, I see that you just have some fan art of Stede Bonnet and Edward Teach from hit HBO show Our Flag Means Death in the summary here, so.
Yeah, I put that there because right before I went to actually go write the summary, I saw that on Tumblr, and it was just like Pride and Prejudice, but make it Black Bonnet. And I was like, oh, this is topical for me and for me only. And so I put it there because that's where I'm mentally at consistently.
It's a sign. It's a sign. It's a sign.
All right, insert summary here. It is a truth universally acknowledged that the book summaries you call later me problems soon become current you problems. The Bennet family consists of 5 daughters, which is cool, but this is 19th century England, and when Mr. Bennet dies, their family estate will go to a male relative, and not one of the sisters. That is why, when wealthy landowner Charles Bingley comes to town, it is of Mrs. Bennet's utmost importance to get one of her 5 daughters to catch his eye and marry him. Bingley catches the eye of eldest daughter Jane, but his friend Mr. Darcy disapproves. He believes the Bennet sisters are beneath them and makes sure everyone knows how much he looks down on them. Second eldest sister Lizzie wants to marry for love instead of the economic reasons society would rather have her follow, and loathes Mr. Darcy for being arrogant and prideful. However, through numerous social events, they soon learn to overlook their pride and prejudice, wink wink, nudge nudge, that's the name of the book, and may find that they are more compatible than they once thought.
Hello, everyone. I'm Emberlin, and Matthew McFadden is my baby girl.
Yeah. I'm Caitlyn, and I am the proud owner of not one, but 2 bucket hats, and I feel complete as a person now.
Delicious.
It honestly is. I don't know what I was doing beforehand, but now I'm here. Now I'm here. Bucket hat in tow.
We love it. We love to say it.
We love it.
So, Caitlyn, have you read any of Jane Austen's books before, or was this your first?
Yeah. I read Pride and Prejudice when we were in high school. I read it for a project that we had to do in AP English, where we all got to pick a book that we hadn't read yet and do a project on it. And I picked Pride and Prejudice specifically because I told my teacher this. I said, I want to read this book because it's mentioned a lot in other stuff, and I want to know what the heck it's all about. And I did it, and I remember specifically procrastinating on it and staying up all night to finish it in time. So, Miss Coco, if you're listening, I'm sorry.
I literally don't even remember. Like, I wonder what book I read because I don't know.
I don't remember. The fact that I remember even that is pretty good.
I'd love to know what book I read now. Like, this is going to haunt me. I'm going to have to go through all of my stuff in my Google Drive just to figure it out, because if you read Pride and Prejudice, then what did I read it all? Did I just lie about reading? Anything's possible, you know?
I don't know why, but for some reason, A Streetcar Named Desire comes to mind.
That was what I read. Okay. Oh my gosh, that's
Why
it.
did I remember that?
That's literally it. Yeah, and it was actually a really interesting book. I think I remember very much liking it. It was a play. Or was it?
I don't know. I didn't read it.
It is a play, but it might not have been in play format when I read it. No, it definitely wasn't, but I did enjoy it. Cool. So yeah, I also read Pride and Prejudice. I don't think I read it until college. And I also read Emma and Sense and Sensibility early in college. And I loved them each. I don't remember much of them except that I really enjoyed them. Big fan of Regency era. I guess it'd be Regency era.
I think so, yeah.
Literature. And I remember having a really hard time in college just grasping the source material. So I was really excited to read her works again. Here for Jane Austen August, maybe with a little better understanding of it. And where I really struggled with Pride and Prejudice in the early years of college, especially, I didn't find it anywhere near as difficult to understand this time around, which leads me to believe that maybe experience and a good ADHD medicine is the only thing standing between me and the prospect of never having any fucking clue what's going on.
Good. I'm happy for you that you've discovered this
Yes.
for yourself. So
Growth.
Growth. What did you think of the writing style?
I love it. I love Jane Austen's writing style so much. It's very special to me. And I find it really similar to how I write today. And I feel like each time I read one of her books, it makes me a better writer in turn. And I know it's not for everybody. It can be like really dense. But that's something that I like because I'm a dense person personally. Like, I have no shame in admitting that. But that said, I really enjoyed it. I just, every time I read her books, I'll go and I'll write something myself, because her works really inspire me. And I'll be like, wow, I did that. I feel like the ghost of Jane Austen possesses me each time I go to write now because of just, how much she's influenced my writing in turn. And I think Austen as a writer is also really particularly very special to me because it's widely speculated that she had an autoimmune disorder. And that's potentially why she fell gravely ill and it passed very young in life at about, I think, 40 it was. And I think the most common assumption is that it was Addison's disease or lupus, and it also could have been lymphoma. It's really hard to say now, obviously. But when I first learned this, I was grappling with my own autoimmune disorder, and it brought me a lot of joy to learn that even though she was terribly fatigued toward the end of her life, she still wrote and she still took time to create wonderful things. And she passed very young, obviously, but it gives me a lot of hope for those of us who have disabilities, that we should still be able to use art and writing and music and other forms of creation as an outlet when we aren't feeling at our best. So that's really nice.
That is really nice. And I feel like it says something that, okay, she might have had like a shorter life, but she's still so prominent today. And like her works are being adapted like all of the time, and still like the themes that she wrote about are still very prevalent. So I think that's really cool that she was able to write and share her stories with us despite what she might have been going through. That's really cool.
Yeah, she spent like so much of her short life being a badass, and it reminds me of that episode of Doctor Who. I think, is it Vincent and the Doctor? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Where Matt Smith, his doctor, the 11th Doctor, and Karen Gillan's character Amy, they take Vincent to the Louvre.
I think, yeah.
And they take him forward in time in the TARDIS. It's a show about time travel. They take him to present day so that he can see like his impact on the world. I think that they should do that with Jane Austen. Just saying, like,
yeah, I mean,
I think she'd love to know how much her works has affected modern literature and story writing and screenwriting.
Yeah.
Now, I think I saw a TikTok the other day. This is like just totally off the book, but where it was like, we should bring Shakespeare, like the Doctor should bring Shakespeare forward in time so that he can see Romeo and Juliet in theaters. I think about that all the time. Like, the man would kill over it and die.
He'd be like, "This is what you're doing?"
I weirdly think he'd like it. I think he'd be into it.
I think he'd appreciate it. I specifically want Jane Austen to watch the 2005 Pride and Prejudice movie.
Yes, me too. Me too. What did you think of her writing, Caitlyn?
Well, one, I mean, general, and like I said, I think it's really cool that something that was written in the 1800s, should have done my homework, whatever, is still very popular today and talked about and relevant and relatable. And I just think that's really cool to see. As someone who doesn't like history all that much, I think it's really cool to see the things that have stuck throughout it with music and literature specifically, because I think it's just really cool that, all right, so there are hundreds and thousands of people who read this book all those years ago and we're still talking about it. Like, I always thought that was really cool.
Right.
But the biggest thing that stood out to me was her humor. I just felt like when you're reading that, you're like, it's like Jane, you can hear Jane being like, isn't this just a bit ridiculous? And I just feel like it was like subtle enough to where you could just like, you knew that she was having fun writing it and writing about like all these different characters in her time. And it's like very prevalent during the dialogue between Mr. and Mrs. Bennet specifically that I really enjoyed. So that was like one of my favorite parts of her writing, is just the humor of it.
Yeah, I feel like the humor it's amazing that it's relevant even today. And it's wonderful that like we can now see a lot of her works be reproduced in so many beautiful ways, like through the Colin Firth series from way back when, and then through 2005's Pride and Prejudice, which is amazing, and then through like Fire Island, for example, which is like
a new one.
Kind of, yeah, it reimagines Pride and Prejudice as a queer rom-com, and it's lovely. It's really good.
Did you watch it? I did. I just found out about that the other day, and I was just like, hey, this is topical for me.
It's fantastic. It is.
Cool.
It is a recommended watch. But yeah, it's just amazing to think that one lady's like sense of humor and writing back in 1813 can have such an exceptional impact on the world today.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I'm really curious to hear what your two peaks in a valley were for this book, Caitlyn.
My two peaks in a valley. My first peak would be the Bennet family in general. I love this family so much because they're so unlike the societal norms that they were living in.
Yeah.
Like, of course, like they still follow the whole like you need to get married off to preferably a wealthy man so that you can live comfortably in society and everything. But
right.
They seem to really just put themselves first, and because of that they have a really solid family dynamic. Like there's no like you must dress this way or learn these things. Like they didn't have a governess. That was usually very common in that time, and it was even they're called out for it by Lady Catherine de Bourgh, being like, I need to talk to your mom, we need to change that, like why aren't you doing this? And like they're easily can be and are in the book looked down upon and by people who think that they're better than them, and they're clearly like uncomfortable when that happens, but at the end of the day they're just like, yeah, we are who we are. Like we're all just having a good time. And I just love the relationship between Mr. and Mrs. Bennet, because Mr. Bennet just treats Mrs. Bennet so well. Like she's kind of all over the place, and like she gets often into hysterics about getting their daughters married off because they only have 5 daughters, and if they don't get to keep their estate necessarily, it goes to somebody else within the family, and they want them to live comfortably and like have money and all that. And so that's like her main goal, and she's just so taken by that she's like, I don't want to call her crazy because she's not, but she's just very like she's very funny to me because like there's a moment where she's very upset because Lydia has run off and could essentially ruin her own reputation. But then the second that she finds out that Lydia is going to get married, she's like, oh, great, we're fine then. She's like, she could give no shit. She literally makes Jane walk in the rain so that she becomes sick and therefore has more time with Mr. Bingley. And she's so chaotic. I love her. And
iconic for that.
She is. And Mr. Bennet's just like, that's my wife and I love her. And like how he the very beginning of the book, it's Mrs. Bennet telling her husband, like, you need to go talk to Mr. Bingley because we need to like get an in and like make sure one of our daughters like meets him and everything, and like you need to set up this appointment. And he's just like, well, why should I do that, blah blah blah. And it's like not dismissing her, but just being like, kind of like taking her for a run for her money. And then little does she know that he already talked to her, and he's just like, haha, I knew that would surprise him, especially her, and look how happy she is. I love it. So I just thought they were really cute. So I really like their family. What was your first peak?
Well, first I'll say I really like your interpretation of the Bennet family because they are funny. Like they are the comic relief in the book.
Yeah.
But also they're like rudimentarily dysfunctional for the era, right?
Yeah.
Which I related to a lot. Like I grew up in a kind of like a similar family situation. Not in that I had 5 sisters and my mom was trying to marry us all off to multiple different people, but that like it was like I feel like my family was fundamentally dysfunctional for where we lived and like everything. And it was like embarrassing sometimes to like be out in public and like have one of my parents say something ridiculous and for me to have to be like, oh my, like literally apologize on their behalf
like,
when they
so
walk
sorry.
away.
She does not represent us.
I am sorry, we don't claim her, or like we don't claim him. Yeah, It's a great time. So I'm super relatable, hilarious. For me, it was actually also like the comedy. I don't think we talking about how fucking hilarious this book is, like, for the time?
I know!
Like, it's the hilarity of Mr. Collins, of Elizabeth being consistently embarrassed by her mother and sisters. The entire plot is hilarious. Like, the whole, like, we have made grave misjudgments about each other that will keep us from ever fully admitting our feelings until it all starts to unravel at the end. Irony of it all. The Mr. Darcy isn't proud so much as he is just a socially awkward little guy of it all. And, of course, Austen's just quick-wittedness in her writing is so, like, oh, like, it hits, man. It slaps. It fucks, if you will. Like,
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Like, one of my favorite lines, it comes from when Elizabeth and Jane are discussing Mr. Bingley's engagement to Jane, and Jane wishes that Elizabeth could find a man as lovely as Mr. Bingley, and Elizabeth says, perhaps Mr. Collins has a cousin.
Yes.
And I still laugh about that out loud because, like, we all been knew that if Mr. Collins had a cousin, we would not want him in our house because we barely want Mr. Collins in our house. Like,
Oh, yeah, that was great.
What about you? What was your second peak?
I know this was supposed to be about the book, but let's talk about the movie for a second because I cannot, like, talk about this book without acknowledging the brilliance and comfort that the 2005 Pride and Prejudice movie brings me. Like, I watched it again today, and as soon as the music starts, I was like, oh, we're here. Let's go. Yeah. It's so beautiful and cinematic, but also I feel like it really represents, like, the comedy of it all, of, like, just showing how awkward Mr. Darcy is, essentially. Like,
yes.
He's not dancing with Elizabeth or anybody for that matter because he thinks he's better. Like, he does a little bit, but when it comes down to it, he's just like, I don't know how to interact with anybody, and the fact that I'm even here is killing me. I want to go home and be in my own room by myself, and it makes me laugh so hard. And just I don't know, I have no coherent thoughts about it. It's just that this movie makes me absolutely insane, and it's just a really good time. And I will say this confidently, having not watched any other adaptation of this book, unless you count the BBC miniseries Death Comes to Pemberley, but that, like, is, like, post Pride and Prejudice time. Having only seen the 2005 Pride and Prejudice movie, I will gladly say this is the best adaptation of Pride and Prejudice ever. Oh my God. And I will not be taking any criticism.
And you will not be watching the other ones to confirm whether or not you're right, correct?
I won't. No offense to Colin Firth, but Matthew McFadden he's everything to me. So that's that on that. And also, you cannot beat that score. Shout out to Dario Marianelli for that soundtrack. Whose name I definitely didn't have to Google, but whose piano book is sitting on my piano right now. So I don't know. That's my second peak, is the movie. Again, nothing to do with the book. I just want to talk about the movie.
But then think about it. If Jane didn't write
exactly
the book, then we wouldn't be talking about the movie right now, which definitely is like a cinematic masterpiece. And I would say the show is also very, very good. And I'm very sad that Caitlyn is going to be missing out on it because it's pretty good.
Maybe someday.
Yeah, I always laugh, like, out loud at the scene in the movie when Elizabeth receives the letter from Jane about Lydia running off with Mr. Wickham, because, like, when she first runs past them, she's sobbing, and Mr. Darcy gets up.
Yep.
And then he slowly sits down again. He doesn't know what to do with himself. And when she comes back out again, he stands up again. And every time she walks into a room, he stands up. And I just think that's so respectful for the era.
Yeah.
And lovely. And I think about that I just laugh out loud whenever I see that. Like, that is some exceptional character acting.
I love it.
Wow. Yeah.
What was your second peak?
Is it my turn to tell you that? I don't even know what the question was. Yeah, for me, it was, like, just plot-wise, the immediacy of Mr. Darcy's love confession to Elizabeth. Like, to this day, it gets me, because I feel personally like it's unexpected. Perhaps if you're someone who's consumed other, like, media based off of Pride and Prejudice, you might have expected it, but I didn't. So when I get to that point, I feel like, what? No way! Like, he actually is, like, totally in love with her, which is kind of, like, something you might expect from reading, you know, some of the things that happened beforehand, but I didn't expect him to admit that to her, and just at the time that he did and where he did, and I definitely think that if you were reading this in 19th century England, you wouldn't see it coming at all. So I just think it's, like, such brilliant writing, and it always just gets me, because he just chose the worst time to confess his love and admiration for her.
He really did.
And I just, like, think about that all the time. Like, right person, wrong time.
Right person, wrong time. Yeah, he was straight up was just like, so I want to marry you. And she's like, I literally hate you. What do you do?
Don't go die. Eat glass.
Eat glass.
Did you have a valet?
A valet? I did.
No. I was saying, like, not like valet, like valet, like not like British, like valet, like pitbull.
Valet. Valet. Yeah, I did.
Can you please edit him saying that into after I said that, please? Okay.
I can't. I can, and I absolutely will.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh my god, that's so funny. My valet, as all my valleys seem to be, this is most definitely a me thing and not a author or book thing.
Right.
But it was definitely harder for me to enjoy the story fully. Now, I completely understand the story. I know everything that happens. I understand the concepts, everything. I'm not that dull, but the language, I just personally cannot seem to get past it sometimes. And often when I was reading this, I would have to refer to SparkNotes, shout out SparkNotes, because I would be like, okay, I understand this, but something's still fuzzy here. Like, I'm a little confused. Like, why was that important?
Right.
And I'd have to consistently keep going back and forth between the book and the SparkNotes for it just to fully comprehend it myself. So because of that, it was hard for me to fully, like, I mean, I could relate to some characters, but I couldn't, like, get super, like, emotional about the story because I'm just, like, all of a sudden he's professing his love, and it's not because it's, like you said, like, I think it's hilarious and great when he does that, but even when I was reading it, I'm just like, okay, this feels like it should be bigger than it is, but I'm not feeling it, and it's definitely because of the just the language it was written in, and because my little brain would like it just to be a little bit more straightforward sometimes. So that was a me thing. I'm very biased when it comes to being negative about books that I like. So that would be my valley. What about you? Do you have a valley?
Well, first I have to say, I feel like that's exactly how I felt when we read Shakespeare, like in high school. Yeah. It was like, I loved when they'd give you the books where it was like, they would have Shakespeare's original text on one side, and on the other side they'd have like a modern English interpretation of his lines. And I don't know why that made me think of it, but I just remember reading those and feeling like, this guy's supposed to, like, be the modern inspiration for playwriting? Like, I don't get it.
It's like, I don't know what he's trying to say. Because, like, you know that people at the time were just like, wow, this is so moving. And you're just like,
yeah.
What are these funny words, Magic Man?
Yeah. Dost thou want an encore? And I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't fucking know if I want that.
Why are we talking about dust?
Yeah, I think I feel like humbled in the presence of this book. Like, I feel wholly underqualified to give this book a valley, and I also feel wholly underqualified to give this praise because it just feels like it's above me. Like, I would, like, if this book was a person, I would kiss its feet, and I'd be like, anything you would like, sire, I'll give it to you on a golden platter. Like, apparently I would become this book's governess if it were a person. I'd say I can understand where a lot of people come from with their critiques of this book, that, like, the subject matter is trivial. I mean, it's like, we're talking about, like, English society, and I can see why many wouldn't find that entertaining. Like, I've heard a lot of people say it feels like nothing happens until, like, way later in the book, and even then it feels like nothing happens, and I get that. But also I feel like for English society, a lot happened. A lot happened. Like,
yeah.
The things that happened in this book, like, might seem subtle, but would be the equivalent of, like, the Queen sneezing, you know, and, like, the British media watching that happen. The things that happen in this book are the equivalent of, like, when the English media writes something really bad about Meghan Markle, because it's, like, something really small that she does, but because they're so obsessed with her, they'll write, like, 85 paragraphs about it because they're just, like, obsessed. Like, that is the way this book is. And I know that I know Jane Austen's characters don't have, like, a lot of depth, like, not in the way that, say, the Bronte sisters' characters do, but I don't know that I found that particularly relevant for me to enjoy the book. Like,
right.
I think that it is just, like, one of the signature modern romance, or not modern, but rather the signature foundations for modern romance. And I just, like, I don't know, I feel like I get people's concerns, but also I have a lot of fan behavior toward this book.
I like
all.
that. Well, going off of the whole, like, trivial thing, it made me think, and this is actually, like, I know it's coming from your valley, but it's kind of like a peak for me. Maybe this will be my real second peak. How usually, like, when you're reading something and there are characters who just aren't communicating with each other, and you're just like, oh my god, if you just asked them how they felt about this, you wouldn't have this whole conflict. And I know, like, sometimes that's needed for plot, but I hate it when it's used for plot in a way that it's just so annoying, when you're just like, if this were real life, you would have just talked to them, you know?
Right.
This wouldn't be an issue. Whereas I feel like in this book, it felt more real. Like, of course, Jane isn't going to talk to Darcy about, you know, things like with Mr. Wickham right away, because he already, to her, from her perspective, has, like, this air about him of, like, oh, I'm better than you and I'm so proud. So of course she thinks that way. And then same with Darcy to Elizabeth. Like, he's just like, you're so much as a person. Like, I don't know how to talk to you, and it's because I don't even know how to talk to people. So it makes sense for them, like, as characters, as to why it took them so long to understand each other, because of their pride and their prejudice. It should be called that. Just Jane Austen, if you need any ideas. Just an idea. No need to credit me or anything. But I really did like that about the book, because I just feel like it's one of those things that it's almost overused sometimes, the miscommunication, but I really liked how it was done in this book.
Yeah, I feel like there's nothing particularly irritating about it this time around. I feel like I touch more on this later when I talk about my favorite character in this book, but, like, there's something completely not at all frustrating about the relationship with between these two characters. It's, first of all, they're probably, like, one of the foundational ships, if you want to call them that, for, like, enemies to lovers.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like this is the foundation of enemies to lovers.
Yeah, and, like, I don't know, it's just, like, it's really well executed, I feel like, in this, but yeah.
Well, on that note, I think that we as a society failed when we stopped having balls. I just want to say that.
See, when I first read this, I was like...
I know it's not a question, but I just needed to put that out there.
but no, see, when I first read this in your notes, I thought balls in, like, the biological sense. Like,
no.
I was like, when did we... I was like, are you saying that? And do you mean it metaphorically so? Do you mean that we're all just, like, kind of, like... cowardice now. We have a lot of do you mean that we're like cowards now, or do you mean to say that, like, we should all physically have balls?
Yeah,
like,
no, we stopped having balls when we stopped having balls. No, I was watching the movie earlier and it came to the first ball that they were having and they all started dancing. I'm like, why don't we do that anymore? Like,
I thought the same thing.
My best friend Molly and I have talked about this multiple times, where, like, they need to just bring back, like, dances or something.
Yeah,
because that's just so much fun. It's such an easy social gathering, and I just feel like I know people go out places now, but, like, it's the difference between going to a club and a ball, where I feel like at least, like, there's a lot of music, but it's not super, super loud, and you can still talk to each other, and then, like, you have to literally dance with people and learn to dance. And maybe it's just because I suck at dancing. I just want to learn, like, a Regency style dance and go somewhere and have a ball.
The Regency dresses, they just, woo, When we found out that the Bridgerton Experience was coming to DC, it was like way too late for us, obviously, to get tickets.
Right.
But like next time I'm going to that region. I'm going to that Bridgerton Experience.
So cool.
I'm going. You'll see me there.
The feminine urge to dress up in the Regency style dress and dance with someone who could become my future lover.
No, literally. I feel like if I ever had a wedding, that would be the theme. Is like Regency era, like, and yeah, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And my family's not invited because much like the Bennets, they're an embarrassment to me. Just kidding. Love you guys. So, Caitlyn, which Bennet sister do you think you're the most like? I can give you an opportunity to answer this question, but I thought it might also be fun for us to take this quiz I found on air.
Yeah, let's do it.
To find out.
Wait, I want to say...
which Bennet sisters we are.
I feel like...
Yeah, take a guess first, and then we'll see what the truth is.
I feel like I'm a solid mix of Jane and Lizzie. And I say that because... like Lizzie, like I hate it when people are like, well, you should be doing this, like you're expected to do this, and I'm gonna be like, fuck that, like like I'll do what I want. But also like Jane is just like, she just thinks everybody's nice, and it's just like very like low-key, like I don't want any problems or conflicts, so I'm just gonna do what I think is okay. And so if I get either of those two, I wouldn't be surprised. So
I think I'm going to be Lydia because I'm just a wholly irrational person.
Nice.
Like, there is nothing rational about all of this. So should we go through each question?
Yeah, we should.
Like, together? Okay, so the first question is, what are your favorite hobbies? And the options are reading and taking long walks, playing the piano and contemplating moral philosophy, doing whatever my best friend tells me to do, shopping and flirting with boys, and needlework and long talks with friends. So what's your answer going to be?
I think... What should my answer be?
So it sounds like your answer is doing whatever my best friend tells me to do.
Yeah. No. That was right there. I couldn't not do that. I'm going to say reading and taking long walks, because if there's anything that I do lately as hobbies, it's reading and taking long walks.
Oddly enough, I think... this is hard for me because I do be contemplating moral philosophy, but I also do be having long talks with friends, but I also do be reading and taking long walks. I think I'm gonna have to go with that as well.
The reading and taking long walks.
Yeah, we love to take a good hot girl walk after work.
Yeah, we do. All right, next question. What are you most excited about doing this summer? Sea bathing, getting some alone time, falling in love, going on an adventure, or finding a summer fling?
Me personally, it's finding a summer fling. I am in a committed relationship with a man I care about very much. But what's far more important to me is having a little spice in my life.
Oh, I love that for you.
No, I think I'm gonna say, just because it sounds like fun, I'm gonna say sea bathing.
Sea bathing. I know. I honestly I want to put that just for the meme, and also just because sea bathing is really funny to me. But I'm gonna say going on an adventure, because I'm very excited for summer, and I know this, by the time this episode goes out, this will already have happened, but my cousin and I have 2 weeks of what we're calling Courtney and Caitlyn's Hot Girl Summer, and I'm very excited to just go on adventures with her for 2 weeks straight. So I'm gonna say going on an adventure. Shout out to my cousin. I hope we had a fun time.
The narrator's like, Caitlyn did have a fun time.
And she did.
What is your biggest flaw, Caitlyn? That's the next question. That's not just me asking you out of the blue.
It does say Caitlyn right there, specifically.
It actually also does say Caitlyn, yeah. You don't stand up for yourself. You're incredibly boring. That's like cruel. Who would admit that about themselves? I'm like not fun to hang out with.
I feel like the answer is like, if you pick this, you're going to get married.
Yeah. I make judgments about people too quickly. I don't think before I act. I have a hard time talking about my feelings.
Well, I'd like to say I've gotten better at standing up for myself. I'm not incredibly boring. I'm a fucking delight. See, okay, I'm kind of going back and forth between I make judgments about people too quickly and I don't think before I act, because sometimes I just be doing shit and then I'm like, why am I doing this? Like today when I had like a second cup of coffee, I'm just like, I don't need this, and I haven't had anything, but it's fine. And then I was wondering why I was bopping about the walls today. I will, you know what, I'm going to go with I make judgments about people too quickly because I do. And then
She's a petty bitch.
I'm a petty bitch. No, but I am. I really am.
For me, it's definitely I don't think before I act. I was asking my partner and I were talking the other day, and I was like, "What's my pet peeve about you? You know, or what's your pet peeve about me?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "You're a very impulsive person," and I was like, "Am I?" And then he was like, he just like gestured to our cat.
I am gestured.
He was like, "Yes, you are. There's a cat."
We have a cat
that you just bought out of the blue. Mind you, I bought said cat while my partner was actually very deeply afraid of cats, so I expressed no concern for his well-being and slowly forced him to take in our beautiful cat.
But they're best friends now, so it's fine.
They are their besties. No, they're definitely besties. They're definitely father and son. But no, it's definitely that. Like, I do a lot of things about acting, and I think personally that's not a flaw for me because it's gotten me a lot of really great places in life.
Yeah,
but
same.
Sometimes it probably is because I did get a haircut the other day, impulsively, not the other day, but a couple months ago, that has ruined my life. The haircut, the hairdresser on 17th Street that did that to me, you know who you are. You know who you are, because I looked like goddamn, oh my god, like
Edward Scissorhands himself took his hands
like
to your hair.
Literally like fucking Billy Ray Cyrus for like months, and I blame you.
You know what you should do? Like what I impulsively did earlier this week is buy bucket hats to cover it up. How
about I just put 2 bucket hats on right now, and I finish this podcast with those on?
I'm gonna put mine on too.
Yes, I'm just 2, one after
Over
the other.
my headphones. It doesn't even fit correctly. It's fine.
I'm gonna put my white one on.
Hell yeah, bucket hats.
Okay. Now I feel like
or complete person.
Anne Hathaway's. Yes, but also like Anne Hathaway's character in The Princess Diaries, where she wears the bucket hat around school in the beginning after they give her a blowout. And it's a good feeling.
It's a good feeling. All right, moving on to our next question. What was your favorite book as a child? Eloise by Kay Thompson. I have no idea what that is. The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein.
You don't know what Eloise is?
I don't. I have no idea. Wait, I'm going to Google it real quick.
For real?
Oh. That's vaguely familiar. All right. It's going to be a later me thing to look into. All right. Eloise by Kay Thompson. The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day by Judith Viorst? I'm sorry, Judith. Goodnight Moon by Margaret Wise Brown. Or Madeline by Ludwig Madeline.
Madeline.
Madeline! My bad.
For me, I correct you because my favorite book would probably have to be Madeline. I love that book as a child, and it's just little French girl. Oh my gosh. How about you? What's yours?
Oh my god, mine is Goodnight Moon because my mom literally read that to me every single night. I feel like the colors, it's got like these like really like bright oranges and green and like a very dark blue, and it's like I see it and I'm immediately nostalgic, and like it's like every single night it was Goodnight Moon, Goodnight Stars, Goodnight, like everything, like you just say goodnight to everything in your room. And then I remember my mom just like reading that to me all the time, and then I would like she'd go downstairs and I'd be like goodnight room, and I'd say like goodnight to all the things in my room. And I Also, like, there was like a board game that I had of Goodnight Moon, and I firmly believe it is why to this day I am absolutely adoring the moon, because I just think it's pretty, and I don't know, that book to me will always be very nostalgic. So Goodnight Moon would be
Goodnight Moon. Thing. So what role do you play in your group of friends, Caitlyn?
Fun.
I am the leader and always decide what to do. I am the nice one who everyone tells their problems to. I am the outrageous one who always gets in trouble. I'm the follower, always up for anything, and I am the friend no one likes.
Oh my god. I wish there was a all of the above answer. Well, actually, no. I am never the leader, and I never decide what to do. I'm so indecisive. And shout out to my friend group and our friend group, because we all know that's not me. I'm just like, yeah, sure, whatever you guys want. I don't care. To which you would think I would say, oh, I'm the follower, and I'm always up for anything. But I think I'm the nice one who everyone tells their problems to. Or at least I hope.
You are nice.
Thanks. She choked because she's like, that's a fucking lie.
No. I don't know. I'll be really honest with you. I really don't know who I am, because I have no sense of how other people perceive me, like, at all. This is really hard for me. Like, cue the Jeopardy theme. I'm just gonna have to cancel some out.
I know.
I'm the nice one who everybody tells their problems to. Everybody does tell me their problems, but I don't feel like people know me particularly well for being nice. That isn't to say that I'm not nice. It's just that I don't think I'm well known for being nice. I'm the outrageous one who always gets into trouble. I feel like I don't get in a lot of trouble. I feel like
I'm trying to think of our friend group. Okay.
I feel like I'm just there sometimes. I'm just in it. Like, I personally don't like to put labels on myself. I'm just here. So I'm going to say I'm just always up for anything. I'm going to say I'm like the follower, because I don't really know who I am.
All right, next question. What is the most important quality in a life partner, besides at least 5,000 pounds a year?
That actually is the most important.
Yeah, why? All right, someone with a pious moral character, someone who is my intellectual equal, someone who likes me more than my sisters.
I really hope so.
I hope so. This is your life partner. Someone kind who my family approves of, or someone who looks good in a uniform.
Ew. Okay. I definitely say someone who's my intellectual equal. I've been in relationships with people who are not my intellectual equal, and I have made them all feel like shit. Because they are. No, I'm just kidding.
And that's a read.
But like, that is really important to me, is like someone who shares in my interest in knowledge and intellect. But who are you thinking about?
Who am I thinking? Not
a lot of great options.
Not a lot of great options at all. Seem very targeted to certain sisters. But,
yeah.
I'm gonna say someone who's kind and who my family approves of, because if you're not kind, then what the fuck we doing? And also I do value my family's opinion, so I out of all the options, I feel like that's the best one for me, because I don't have any sisters. So if you don't like me more than my sisters, that's a problem, because I don't have any to choose from.
This is a side thing, but like in an icebreaker this morning at work, we had a question they gave us a question that was like, it was like, would you rather get attacked by a chicken every time you get in your car or on the metro? Or would you rather have to fight a chimpanzee once a year, but you get a sword to do it?
Oh my gosh, you have a sword.
Which is like, and my immediate answer was like, I would do the chicken one, because I never leave the house. I don't have a car. I don't use the metro like very much at all. That's perfect for me.
Yeah, and also like, yeah, sure, you get attacked by the chicken, but who's to say that you won't become friends with the chicken for your ride to work?
Or even perhaps lovers.
This is a chicken to lover story.
And in fact, the chicken and I will hate each other at first. We'll actually have a lot of pride and prejudices toward each other before finally recognizing that we're made for one another. And then I will come to learn that the chicken possesses 10,000 pounds a year and lives at a wonderful grand estate in England. And then I'll come to find that we're actually very deeply in love.
And that's how Popeyes came to be.
Caitlyn.
Yeah.
How do you feel about your parents?
Okay.
I try to support them you try to support them in any way you can. They are embarrassing, but you try your best to love them anyway. They always try to stop me from having fun. It's my duty to honor my parents, whether they are ridiculous or not. Or, I wish they gave me more attention, or at least stop telling me not to cough. Huh?
Telling me what? What does that mean?
I'm a heavy smoker.
You're like dying on your deathbed, like of like tuberculosis, and your mom just goes, "Hey, can you shut the fuck up there? We're trying to watch Stranger Things."
That reminds me of like how my 7th grade history teacher, whenever you'd sneeze, he'd be like, "Can you be quiet?"
Yes.
Just like as a joke.
Love that man.
Icon.
I'm gonna say mine is it's my duty to honor my parents, whether they are ridiculous or not, because my parents are so fucking ridiculous in like the best way. Like they're two of the funniest people I know, and my humor is my humor is what it is today because of them. And we're always out here just having fun and being idiots within our own right, and I adore that. And if you so much as judge my parents for being their weird selves, get out of my house.
Get out of my house. I'm not even in your house. I'm just kidding.
Doesn't matter. It's my honor. It's my duty. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that one. How about you?
They're embarrassing. But I try my best to love them anyway. It's hard, you know?
Yeah. I love that we're both like, our parents are embarrassing for very different reasons.
Our parents are embarrassing for very different reasons.
All right, what's your favorite dessert? Dehydrated fruit?
Huh?
Creme brulee, chocolate cake, frozen yogurt, or apple pie?
That's a hard one, because I know it's funny, but I would say dehydrated fruit, because I love dehydrated mango slices. They're really good. But also, no. I have to say apple pie. Apple pie is so good, especially when it's fall and you bake one. Ooh, yeah, that's mine.
I like that. I'm going to go with frozen yogurt.
Why? Hello?
I just actually really want some right now. As soon as I read that, I was like, I could go for some froyo.
It's one of those things where you're like, wait a minute, I actually really want this.
Yeah, it's something that I don't think about often, but the second someone mentions it, I was like, fuck yeah, I could go for that right now.
Right. Like it hits.
It hits.
All right, Caitlyn, besides Pride and Prejudice, what is your favorite Jane Austen novel? Emma, Northanger Abbey, Sense and Sensibility, Mansfield Park, or Persuasion?
Well, the only other one I've read so far is Emma, so I'm going to say Emma. Because I have not read the rest of them, so maybe I'll have to retake this.
Once you've actually, yeah. I said Sense and Sensibility. I actually really like that book. It's good.
Nice. Your neighbor announces they are giving a ball or a party.
Oh.
How do you respond?
So clever.
Try to get my crush to come, even if he wasn't invited. Start practicing the piano. I don't know why that's really funny to me. Watch YouTube dance tutorials. Exfoliate, do a hair mask, and get plenty of sleep so I'll be the prettiest one there. Or try to think of anything interesting about myself to showcase, but ultimately come up short. I know what my answer is.
Go ahead.
I'm going to try to think of anything interesting about myself to showcase. Because literally, lately, maybe it's because of COVID and not going out often, but now that we're kind of back into society, every time I go somewhere and know I'm going to see people who I haven't seen in a while, I always try to think of, I'm like, okay, what can I tell them when I'm inevitably asked, so what have you been up to?
Literally.
Like, ultimately, like, my goal is just for people to just not ask me, like, how I'm doing. I'd rather just talk about anything else.
Right.
Because I just feel like I have to then make people perceive me when I don't want to be perceived. I'm just like, don't even look at me. I just want to have some cake.
Have you ever tried to give a fun fact about yourself in a corporate setting? It is a fucking nightmare. Like,
literally, the only one I've ever been able to use is, I look like the girl from Brave, because I need to address it before anyone else does. So that's my go-to. And now at least I have. Oh, I was in a movie. So
yeah, you could like use that now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I feel like I don't have one. Like, I never have one. I never know what to say. And then sometimes I'll be randomly someplace and I'll think of one and I'll be like, oh, I could use that later. And then I'll make like a note about it in my Apple. in my Apple phone, my iPhone,
in my Apple phone.
And I will literally forget it immediately, and it just will not. So it's going well. I'm gonna choose that one as well. So should we see what we are now?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so let's click it.
All right, my results are in. It's Kitty Bennet. It starts off. Let's face it, you don't have much of a personality. What the fuck? You care too much about what other people think of you and are a bit of a whiner. Let's stand up for yourself, gain some interests of your own, and maybe you'll become, quote, less irritable, less ignorant, and less insipid, unquote.
Oh my god! Shots fired!
Whose idea was this?
Yes! Oh my god!
I am attacked.
You're roasted!
What the fuck?
Fuck! We should... Fuck! That's hurtful.
Maybe we shouldn't have a podcast. I don't have any personality.
You have
apparently.
no personality?
The fact that I, like, didn't even think about Kitty as an option and then I got her, like, what the fuck?
They said, not this one. They said humbled.
Like, to be fair, like, Kitty just kind of did anything Lydia did in the book.
Yeah, I don't even...
Why? Okay, well, what did you get? Hope it wasn't Kitty.
I got Elizabeth Bennet.
Main character syndrome much.
It says, congratulations, you're the heroine of your own story. You know your mind and aren't afraid to stray from the path. You can be a tad judgmental, a bit outspoken, and the tiniest bit stubborn, but your wit, beauty, and loyalty more than make up for those shortcomings. All right. Okay.
How does it feel to be the main character of not only your life, but of Pride and Prejudice?
It feels really good, honestly. I mean, I don't know if I have anywhere near as much mouth acting ability as Keira Knightley, but I'll take it.
Just jet your teeth out.
This was wild, though.
But what do I know? I have no personality, so...
I feel like we need to make our own quiz with the sisters. Just
what the fuck? We'll make our own U quiz.
Yeah, you'll be seeing that U quiz linked in the bio because actually, no, like we're gonna fix this.
Shout out to bookriot.com. Fuck you.
So mean.
You have no personality.
They really said go die, Caitlyn.
They said, here's some tips of how you should live your life because you're doing fuck all right now.
Jesus. Anyway, let's close our browsers on that because that was both a lot of fun and also somehow a nightmare. What was your favorite quote from this book?
I don't know. What was yours? Because I can't make any decision for myself.
Oh no. I'm inclined to say I had a hard time making a decision and I wrote quite a few. So I will take you through all of them very briefly. So my first was, a happy alternative is before you, Elizabeth. From this day, you must be a stranger to one of your parents. Your mother will never see you again if you do not marry Mr. Collins, and I will never see you again if you do. And I love that quote because he read. He read when he said that. Like,
what a good dad. I loved him so much.
He said, but actually, this is a bad idea. And he basically, yeah. Oh my god. My second one is, for what do we live but to make sport for our neighbors and laugh at them in our turn? And if that isn't still relevant today, like, I beg of you, if you're at home and you're like, I don't laugh about my friends. I don't make fun of my friends. I'm nice to everybody. No, you're not. No, you're not. There's a little green bug. There's a little ego and id inside of all of us that whenever someone in our life experiences a misfortune in our community, we give ourselves a little chuckle before we support them. But before that, there's a little where we're like, ha ha ha, you know what I mean? Like, we have a little spite in all of us. And I feel like that is a line that sticks with me because it's so relevant even now.
Yeah, like, I'm not at all spiteful that you got Elizabeth Bennet and that I got Kitty Bennet during our quiz.
She's unwell about this. They gotta just be, like, random. Like, there's probably, like...
Don't try and make me feel better.
I won't. Well, speaking of...
It literally was like, maybe you should stop whining so much, and that's all I've been doing since we took it.
You're only proving your own point.
I'm just proving the point. Like, this is not right. I am not Kitty. Continues to be just like Kitty.
Well, I guess another one then that kind of I feel like I'm imagining is how you're feeling right now, Caitlyn, about what is the name of this website that we got this quiz from?
Bookriot.com.
From bookriot.com. And this is a quote from Mr. Darcy, where he says, and I won't read the whole thing, but I'll just read the last part. My temper would perhaps be called resentful. My good opinion, once lost, is lost forever. I love a man that's resentful. I love a man that's is just like the moment you fuck up with him, he's like, no, you'll never be my right. I am somebody who, like, I will forgive, but I will never forget. I will never forget, and it will stick with me forever.
Yep.
And, like, once my good opinion is lost of somebody, it really is lost forever, for real. So when he said that, I was like, yes, girl, like, that's a read. Yeah. And then honorable mention from the film. In the book, this line is, "You must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you," which is, what a line. And then the movie, it's, "You have bewitched me, body and soul, and I love you. I never wish to be parted from." Sorry everybody, I literally ceased up while I was reading the line, but I'll continue. "I never wish to be parted from you from this day on." Both lines are exceptional in their own right, but I just want to call attention to the way that it's delivered in the film for just being especially spectacular.
It's the stuttering of I love you. Followed by, or preceded by, "You have bewitched me, body and soul."
Oh!
Listen.
Whoever wrote the screenplay, but they were doing so much justice to Miss Jane Austen.
To my future husband, who I know is listening, if you don't tell me you have bewitched me, body and soul, what the fuck are we even doing? Just saying. I did have a quote. I chose, "They walked down without knowing in what direction. There was too much to be thought and felt and said for attention to any other objects." And I really like that because it's kind of like and then there's no one else in the room but those two. Like, these two are just so caught up in their conversation with each other that they don't even care what they're doing, where they're going, what's going on. Like, they're just so content in being with each other's company. And I love it when two people can be that comfortable with each other. And at this point, it's finally to the point where Darcy and Lizzie can just ignore the rest of the world, and they have acknowledged and set aside their pride and their prejudice. Again, I think this book should be called that. Kind of workshopping it with Jane Austen. I'll check back with you later. But now they fully understand each other, and just that they're able to get lost within each other and then just walk wherever together. I just thought that was very, very sweet.
To find a love like that should be every single person's, unless you're not interested in a relationship.
Correct.
Great dream. Because it's just, I mean, like, just to be connected with somebody in that way, and to have Miss Austen represent that so well. Oof. I'm eating ice right now because I'm just like overeating thinking about it.
All right, so what character would you refuse to dance with at a ball?
Mr. Wickham for me, because he's just so shady. Like, the fact that when he speaks to Elizabeth about his beef with Mr. Darcy, and he only gives really like partial truths, honestly, about what really took place between them. That got me. And then, of course, the fact that he literally runs off with Lydia at the end of the book, which is gross.
And also that he tried to get with Darcy's sister Georgiana when she was 15.
Yes. Like ew.
It's a capital Y. Yikes, dude.
To jail with you. To jail.
Uncle Sam's naughty box for you, sir.
To Uncle Sam's naughty box for you, young man.
For me, it was Mr. Collins and his excellent boiled potatoes. Because he is just... He makes me laugh, but he's literally the worst because, like, he finds himself so above everyone, and he just cannot find the faults within himself. Like, everyone else is aware of, like, you're just an idiot, dude, and no one has interest in you, but he just can't see it because he just thinks, like, well, why shouldn't you want to be with me? You know? And I hate that so much, like, when people are just like, well, why wouldn't you like me? Like, and they genuinely mean it, like, they don't see any faults within them. And he was just so like, I have everything you should want in a man, so therefore you shouldn't even refuse me. And just every time he was on the page, it just, like, he made me laugh because he was ridiculous, but just because I just wanted him to shut the fuck up. Like, because he never stops talking. And if you took a shot every time he said, my humble abode, you'd probably be drunk with this book, because he says that so many times, and that has nothing to do with anything, really. I just wanted to acknowledge how many times that he said it. So it was like, this is a humble abode. Blah, blah, blah. Welcome to my humble abode. And then when I was watching the movie today, he said, welcome to our humble abode. I burst out laughing. I'm like, yes, they put it in the movie. Thank God.
Yeah, I feel like Mr. Collins, like, he reminds me a lot of, like, I know I use this word a lot to describe every bad man in every book, but about modern incels, like, because there's this one scene where he's like, actually, not just one scene, but like when he first proposes to Elizabeth and he takes her first rejection as a sign that there will be another opportunity for him to propose and for her to actually accept his proposal, which is like stupid. Also ironic because, like, of course, Mr. Darcy goes and proposes a second time to Elizabeth, and Elizabeth does accept, which is like amazing. But
I didn't even think about that. That's
right?
hilarious.
Right?
That's hilarious. Jane Austen should be a writer.
I think she should too. Like, she's so good at this.
She's so good. She has no idea what she's doing.
Oh my God. I was gonna say, it reminds me of, like, do you remember that TBS show Wrecked?
Do I remember? Do you know why I have 2 bucket hats now?
But do you remember the scene when Cody goes to Florence and he's like, I did all this for you.
Oh, Cody!
No, Corey! Corey!
Yeah, but it's funnier that you said his name.
Because nobody in the show can remember his name. Yeah. But, like, when Corey goes to Florence and he's like, I did all this for you. And Florence is like, why? Why? And she goes, because I'm in love with you. And she's like, why would you be in love with me? And he's like, because you were nice to me.
Yeah.
Like...
But then, like, 20 minutes earlier, she's like, who is that guy?
Who is that? Yeah.
Fucking Corey.
So, Caitlyn, which character has bewitched your... Which body... Who? The sun's going down.
Sole character bewitched.
Yeah. Which character has bewitched your...
Do I keep this in?
Yeah. Hello. Just short circuiting a little bit. It's fine. So Caitlyn, which character has bewitched you body and soul?
Well, first I said Lizzie because she knows what she wants and isn't going to change herself for the sake of society. But she also recognizes her faults. And I respect that. I respect people who can be like, you know what? No, I was wrong. And then they can move on with that. And I just thought she was a very enjoyable, like, protagonist, so that was very cool. I also said Mary because she's just kind of there, but I respect her for that because she's just an introvert who wants to mediocrely... I don't even know if that's a word. Mediocrely?
I wrote it. Mediocrely. Yeehaw.
She's just... Because Mary's just an introvert who wants to play the piano at a mediocre level at a ball, and I respect her for that. She, like, wants nothing to do with society, and, you know, shout out to the introverts. And then, also, I put Matthew McFadden as Darcy. Please walk across the field to me at sunrise sometimes. Thanks.
That's an invitation.
It's an invitation.
And a threat.
Yeah. Because, like, if you don't walk across the field at sunrise for me, it's on site.
It's on site. Then she's going to meet you at the block, and you guys are going to have, like, a... You guys are going to...
Yeah.
Fight there or something.
Yeah, we are. How about you? Who has bewitched you body and soul?
Also, Mr. Darcy. I just love that man so much. There are very few male love interests or protagonists that I find myself liking these days. When I read, and I just have so much love for this man because he's just, like, lovely. Like, I feel like, with the exception of his social awkwardness, this man has his shit together, which is so refreshing. Like, yeah, because I feel like every single male protagonists we've been reading lately, this isn't a bad thing, but they've all just been like children, like I'm just a kid and my life is a nightmare. Like they all definitely listen to MCR and like slam the door on their moms. Like,
and meanwhile Darcy's like, teenagers scare the living shit out of me.
Yeah, this man is delightful. He can do no wrong. And also £10,000 a year, sign me up. I'll be there. I'll be there.
I love that.
So, Caitlyn. Oh, before we end, I think it's more important that we actually ask another question.
Yeah.
Caitlyn.
Yeah.
Which song would you like to play first at the ball?
Put me on the spot here.
Yeah. Put you on the spot in honor of the playlists that we put up. For each book we have on our Spotify, you can find them there. And only there. Nowhere else.
Honestly, you know what? I would play Dawn.
Yes.
Which comes from the Pride and Prejudice soundtrack. Or I believe it's Your Hands Are Cold. Or whichever plays before that. You know, like the music that swells as Darcy's coming across the field. I've watched this movie 100,000 times. And I cried at that today when I watched it because it was just so beautiful. And
it's so much.
Yeah, shout out to that soundtrack. It is the best. So what song would you play at the ball?
Yeah, for me, it's a symphonic version of Sound and Color by the Alabama Shakes. Shout out to Brittany Howard. It's really beautiful. And just like, it just like makes, it's like, if you're somebody who like stims a lot, as we do in like the ADHD and autism spectral universe, the neurodivergent universe, if you will, if such a thing exists.
The NDU.
Then yeah, the NDU. You'll like that song is really like a stimming song for me. Like it just like woo, it just makes my brain go whoosh, you know.
That. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, that you saying that reminded me of in Stranger Things season 4. There is a very cinematic version of Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush.
Yeah.
And it was so good. I literally got chills like during the scene itself, and then they continue to play it throughout the credits, and I was like, this is fucking awesome.
It eats.
Like,
it eats.
I've listened to it multiple times since I watched that episode, so that one also.
Do you remember a couple years ago when there was like a cover Peter Gabriel did of Heroes by David Bowie?
Yeah, they put that in Stranger Things too.
When they pulled Will out of that's what I'm talking about. When they pulled Will out of the lake, like, oh,
that makes me cry every single fucking time. And then they used it again in a scene and like later on in the show, and I was like, oh, I won't cry, and they started playing that, and I was like, nope, I'm crying.
If you add a violin to any song, the song just its vibes change a lot.
It could be the Macarena, and I would cry at it.
Wait, can we do that? Let's compose that. So, with all that in mind, on a scale of 1 to 5 Bennet sisters, that's funny. What do you rate Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice?
I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. So rip to half of that one sister. Probably fucking Kitty because she has no personality. Yeah, I'm still bitter. I'm
gonna be hearing about this for the next 3 weeks, so
literally gonna text you randomly and be like, fucking Kitty, fuck. 3.5 out of 5 because while I do very much enjoy this book, I couldn't give it like a solid like 4 or 5 because I know it's not one that I'm going to be coming back to, and it's definitely one that I would much rather watch than read. It has nothing to do with the content, just with the fact that it's a lot of language and a lot of thinking, and I don't want to do that sometimes.
Amen, sister.
And maybe I'm whining about it, but sometimes you realize that you're the Kitty Bennet of the sisters.
I was going to say, you're giving it 3.5 because you got Kitty Bennet on the quiz.
Yeah. It was a 5 out of 5, but that just like knocked me down a peg or two.
A peg and a half.
I'm taking this book with me. What did you rate Pride and Prejudice on a scale of 1 to 5 Bennet sisters?
I originally said 4.5, but then I took off a 0.5 This is literally my thought process. I said this. I took off a 0.5 because while this is one of my favorite books, well, actually, fuck, it is one of my favorite books. 5.
Perfect.
Because, like, I couldn't think of why I was taking off a point, and I like to really reserve my 5s, as I know you do, for, like, books that really give it to me straight. But, you know, even though I didn't, like, though it didn't provoke, like, any sincere emotional reaction from me, I really enjoyed it. It definitely just, like, it holds a special place in my heart, I think. So, it's one of my 5s.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, thank you for listening to our very first episode of Jane Austen August.
Woo!
Woohoo! Tune in next week when we continue our Jane Austen August with Emma.
Emma!
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 Nor Emma! It's condensation! Emma, nor!
Dale!